2 years ago, I found AX semantics, but I was too lazy to use it, to be honest. And now things have changed. And what it does is it helps me and us to work in a quick and targeted and harmonized way and bring out our products to the market in this way. We can create text in a very fast way. We can upload them quickly. People are immediately informed. I have long texts. Not everyone wants to read long texts. My dad always says that people with thick fingers just want a table that's short with the text specs, and other people want more information. And we have the longer texts for these people. We have to say, okay, why Alinox? Why is it such a beautiful product? Why do you want to use it? The tool also allows us to change things quickly. If I see a mistake, I can change it, and I can automatically erase that mistake for all my thousands of products. I change it once and it's changed for all the products. And a few weeks back, we had something with electronics, ABCD, you might remember, and that was also easy to change. So that's not one of our biggest issues, but if we need to make changes, we can make them. We recently had a product group where we had to make many changes, and after 3 hours, I was done. I had implemented all the changes, and about 800 items were automatically changed, and it's really helpful. Okay, so just so we can understand how you're thinking, we have understood that you want to be quick. Okay, and a few days ago, you told me that your quote of first orders is quite high. So 7 out of 10 businesses order for the first time with you. They are new customers. So you are really growing strongly. You have gained new customers, and Robert will later show us on the dashboard and in the statistics what's working. I'm excited because I don't know what the numbers will look like today. It will be interesting to see where the customers come from and how the personalized texts have helped change your business, because of course we want to know if we can really achieve something with our texts. Implementation. I think we said you needed 2 days and it will work. That was our approach. And I still say it can be this way, but things are the way they are. Stephan, when did we decide to implement, and how long did it actually take? It actually took a bit more than 2 days, didn't it? Maybe you can give us your honest opinion on how long it took. Well, when it comes to personalization, in the beginning, I was, oh, why do I need it? We're in the B2B business. But then I changed my opinion. When I'm away from home and I want to order something, I actually want more information. People have to push me, because in a way, we also feel exchangeable and interchangeable. So I think that can really make a difference. We have the intuition, and then I see this 3, 4, 5 times, and then I have the motivation suddenly to buy this. And now when it comes to implementation, it worked. And we asked our service provider to do the programming. There were some difficulties in the beginning, maybe also due to what I said and did. I think in the end, it took 4 programming hours to first install the whole thing. And then, of course, we had to create the text, think about how we want the design and what we want to do. And I think that took about 5 hours. We decided what our text should look like and what we wanted to be in there. So I think you're right when you say 2 days. Unfortunately, it took longer for us, but this was due to a technical issue on our side. I think you're right. The networking hours, that's 2 days. And if we have technological issues, it takes a bit longer. It took 5 days for you. And then 4 weeks later, we decided to have a meetup. And I think that's actually something we can tell people here. 3 calendar weeks, 2 working days for the customer. I think that's realistic. It took a bit longer than we thought, and we would love to have more data. once we're going to have a look at the statistics later, you'll see that it was 5 days. My dad has joined us, I think. Maybe you can see him. And he used the wrong link, I think. But sorry, I just wanted to say that no worries at all. Stefan, would you please stop the screen sharing so I can share my screen and explain to our guests how everything works on the content level? Robert will give more explanations later, but I will do the first part now. Okay, share screen. Beautiful. I hope you can see my screen. I hope everyone can see it. Thank you, Robert, for nodding. From automation to personalization, what have we done and how does it work? I have to give a brief introduction into the topic and to explain what we do and what we want to do. Gartner and other companies see and say that online retailers invest more and more in personalization. About 80% have invested by 2018, but now there's really by 2025. But now there's a real breakthrough. It's becoming ever more topical. People give us a lot of feedback and are very interested in our product launch and in our product. The idea behind personalization is to focus on the customer, to target the customer, to listen better, and to get closer to the customer. And there's a reason why personalization works, because what everyone is seeing at the moment is that we're an e-commerce first economy. The pandemic has accelerated this. That's not new. In the US, there was a skyrocketing growth, a 10 years growth in 3 months in the beginning of the pandemic. That was in the US because people couldn't leave their homes. And this really boosted e-commerce. That's also why B2B businesses are online today, that they have a shop, they try to address their customers. And it's also about B2C, of course, and people want to improve their websites. Why is that so important? Because we are seeing that the companies that are global leaders in e-commerce are shifting away from product descriptions and are trying to really build a customer relationship. So the store manager like Stephan Bayer no longer has a relationship to the customer, but the big companies, Apple, Facebook, Google, are honestly today the gatekeepers for the relationship to the customer. So people think, okay, I trustfully buy something on Amazon, my communication and data is on Facebook and I trust them. I use voice recognition for my smart home. And these businesses have an ever-growing role as gatekeepers. And if we as retailers today try and face this issue, there's actually just one option at the moment, and that's investing a lot in customer acquisition. So that's advertising, whether it be on Instagram and Facebook or with other providers like Amazon or Google or Apple, who then suddenly can decide which cookies the customer gets and which they don't. And then we see where the money will go. So what we will see in the future is that gatekeepers get richer and richer, and the customer relationship will be taken away from the retailers. But if we want to react and counteract this trend, there's just one solution. We have to have product pages that are a personalized product. We have to see them like this, and the sales pitch has to be personalized. Now, looking at the options for retail today, I would like to quote Andreas Reuter from Schäfer Shop. He said in an interview recently that no matter what we do in e-commerce today, we have to accept all payment options. We need excellent return options. We need a super quick website. We need excellent logistics. We have to have low cost shipping. And these are all the things we need. And this makes us interchangeable. There's no more option for us to be better than Amazon because they are actually the leaders in website fastness, in return policies, in logistics. So we have to fulfill these requirements. However, we can still present ourselves towards the customer as a better listener, and that's through personalization. So we have to focus on the quality of our content, on personalization issues in content, not just the layout of the page, but really on the content level. We have to use it as a strategic instrument to stand out, so the content can really be an added value to the customer. It doesn't have to be, but it can be. What does that mean for us? We tried and asked ourselves how we can build a product that you can use to address your customers in a better way, to open up to the customer, to understand better how they are feeling, where they're at. Of course, other personalization tools that focus on layout, different background colors on websites, whether it's a man or a woman, for example, the color changes that optimize images for older, younger, male, female customers. There's one thing nobody has found a solution to, and that's a content solution. So we are actually working with lots of these personalization service providers because they're often trying to find content. They would love to include the content if there was any, but there isn't any content. So we have looked at the motivational customer types, or the typology. This was our basis. And then we said in the customer journey, there are 5 customer types that we can target with automated personalized product texts. The easiest example is the first-time visitors. Let's imagine we visit a website for the first time. It's not Amazon, it's Metav. So I go to Stephan Bayer's Metav website for the first time. And of course I want to, okay, how does Metav address me? Whether it's a milling machine, a cutter, a caliper, it doesn't matter. Without knowing who Metav is, because I'm a first visitor, I actually don't really trust that retailer maybe. I have to have the feeling that I have reached my destination. I understand the motivation of the business. It's a serious and trustworthy business, and I can buy something here. Maybe we're also looking for a gift. We want to know that products can be sent as presents and wrapped in paper. Or maybe I've had something in my shopping cart 4 days and I go back to the website. There's an expensive bike. So it would be interesting to know there's a job bike offer. There's a leasing procedure for bikes that cost more than 5,000 euros, because maybe that would be helpful to me. And if I know, okay, the parameters are bikes above 5,000 euros, I could include elements for these types. So there are 5 motivational customer types. Overall, we can make a different meetup to go into detail on them. But for these types, we have developed triggers so we know who is visiting us. The easiest one is the first-time visitor. If there's no cookie on the computer, we either assume they have never visited the site. If there are other triggers that we can recognize, we might think, okay, it could be a bot, so not a visitor. And then we have a default text that's displayed. In the end, we have 6 different texts that can be shown in real time and address the customer at the right moment of their customer journey they're trying to create resonance and to incite them to buy something. Okay, so how does the tool look. We're not on the website now. We really look at our AX NLG cloud. This is also the tool that Stephan Bayer uses. This is the default text if Google visits us, for example, or if it's hard for us to identify a person, if it's not clear who they are, then they see this product text. Stephan Bayer has automated this text. We have one customer who hasn't automated all texts, but they use personalization, and the default text is the text the team has written for years for this page. And now we're looking at the simulation. Let's imagine we're a first visitor. In this field here, before the title, we see the constant improvement of our products is really key to us. This is why we're looking at technology, design, packaging, and new suppliers all the time. We're actively looking for suppliers, etc., etc. So that's a text that actually meets and picks up the visitor and tries to show how Metav is working on their relationships with customers, with suppliers, etc. These words are Stephan Bayer's. He has implemented these in his text, and then the product is presented. This is not obligatory, but it's based and targeted at the customer. So we say, okay, this is not a bot. The customer does not have a cookie, so apparently they haven't visited the website ever or not often or not for a long time. And then they see the targeted text, the personalized text. The first products they will have a look at will be introduced with similar texts or this text, and we're trying to build trust here. We want to present the business. We have more than 36,000 products in our portfolio. This should also show that it's a big comprehensive provider. And of course, this helps build trust. Based on my experience, it's fair to say we're looking forward to a trustful relationship and cooperation. This is not the ideal phrasing. We really need the right words to address the customer. Inspirational. We're not talking about presents here. Stephan Bayer and his team usually don't send their tools and instruments as presents. That's maybe interesting for other businesses. But they still say, you will not want to do without these tools anymore. If you have any questions, don't hesitate and get in touch with our experts on our hotline. Stephan Bayer's father is an expert in his field. And so people want to get in touch. They can discuss their ideas with the experts from the company. And so that's the inspirational momentum. And then we have a comparer tool where we have a comparison, as the name suggests. Maybe people looked at a comparison page, and I think Metav always offers competitive prices. But here they also say we have more than 3,000 satisfied customers and thank them for their trust. So if a customer has looked at a comparison site, Metav says, well, we have a lot of customers. We are a strong business and you can trust us and we have the right arguments. And this can also motivate people to buy a product. Okay, and now we move to the buyer mode. People are willing to buy something. They have added products to the shopping cart. That's a trigger that we use here. And then we say, as a bonus, if they order products that are worth more than 500 euros, shipping will be free. So maybe they want to add a couple of products because otherwise shipping costs 8 euros. Then we also present the different payment methods. That's not always presented in like it is here on the screen. We also have different options here. So if the customer has looked at many different product pages, they will see alternative texts here. We can also show this once again in an extra demo. And if you're interested, please let us know. May I just say something? Of course, yes, because I'm actually done now. So yeah, feel free, add something. I said in the beginning that when you first approached me, I was like, what? Why would I need that? But when I saw the ready texts, I was like, yes, that's exactly what I want. That was the last trigger that I needed. And that also that I would be missing if I was a customer, that I don't have a standardized text, but that I have an additional piece of information that's a bit more that another provider doesn't offer. I was skeptical in the beginning, but then I realized, hey, that's a cool tool. And that's just one thing that I wanted to add. In the beginning, I really wasn't sure, but by now I'm super convinced. Well, you can only fight skeptical attitudes by looking at the data. This was actually a perfect moment to hand over to Robert Weisgraber. He's our CTO, co-founder, and a friend of mine, an estimated colleague who will invite us to the metrics board today. We will have a look on Stephan Bayer's Metav board, because of course we don't want to look at your personal board, Stefan. It will be Metav's board. The stage is yours. Thank you. Okay, so I will show you what I have. I think that's really exciting. Also for Stefan, it's the first time he sees the facts and figures as they are today. Okay, so that's our dashboard. Of course, there are lots of different things that you can measure. And if you have worked with Google Analytics before, you know that there are great applications that can show 30,000 graphs and statistics. But the actual service is to condense this so you see what really matters. Okay, what are we looking at? We see the content impact of automated texts for Metav. I will go from the top left hand. So we see how many people went to a product detail page. So who actually clicked on the product details, where we also have the item detail text. We also have different statistics for the landing page. G2 Crowd offers a lot of tools here, for example, but we focus on the detail pages. So yesterday, these people have had a look at the product detail page, 241, and 141 actually had a look at the text and actually read it. So we track whether the window was open long enough so they had a chance to read it, or did someone just scroll down or clicked somewhere else again. So we have a product engagement figure, and that's 85% roughly of visitors who actually read the text, who really perceived it. So that's actually the basis for a text to be perceived so they can have an impact. We have other customers that had 40,000 page views, for example, but only 700 people actually perceive the text. And if that's the case, I don't have to worry about my text. My texts have to be well placed and have the right structure so they have a good impact and are perceived. Okay, so that's perception. And now what's the impact? Conversion. So how many people actually put something in their basket, in their shopping cart? So that's 16 here. They read the product description and then added this to their shopping cart based on the text. And so that's 6.5%. You also see a timeline at the bottom over the 5 past days. Of course, traffic on weekends is lower. But looking at the conversion, interestingly, people buy more proportionally in relative terms on the weekend. That's also interesting. So that's the effect, the impact of the product detail page in total. And now looking at the personalized text, if we break that down and compare the personalized text versus the standardized text, it's not personalized, we can see that about half of the visitors couldn't be identified. They got the default text, the Google bot. We don't know who that was. And 65 had a closer look. So we almost have the same engagement rate, but only 2 conversions. And so the conversion rate is lower. And that was the case for the people that we couldn't identify clearly as well. And we can do this for all the products, for example. We compare this to a first visitor, for example, and here we see quite different figures. 72% who actually read through the text, so they are much more interested as first visitors. They had a better text experience, and the conversion rate is also much higher, almost 16%, based on the optimized texts for first visitors. So that was just a brief overview on our metrics. What we usually do with our customers, looking ahead, also for Stephan Bayer, we meet every 2 weeks and have a look at the facts and figures. And of course, our goal is to increase the numbers. We want to see growth. Of course, it's easy to boost the product page views, but I also have to do better SEO. People sometimes just have a look at the shop in order to, we can do that in order to increase the engagement with the shop. But sometimes the product detail texts were still hidden. And that, of course, people don't have a detailed look. But if the text is easier to scan and to read, people will also engage more with the text. And of course, we need the right messaging for the individual motivational typologies. So this is what we saw earlier. And just like the example we heard, maybe we can incite the customer to buy something that's worth more than 500 euros to save shipping fees, for example. Thank you, Robert. Of course, we have to say, okay, we just had a look at the 5 past days, but the tendency is really interesting. We often say statistics is a bitch. So we always have to know what are we looking at and what are the measures that we deduct from this. We have gained interesting insights. You also talked about instances where people didn't have a look at that customer that they couldn't name with a lot of products, but where people didn't look at the texts. Yeah, the engagement rate was very low. And why was that? Because the text was hidden. So it was a drop-down text, but the customers didn't understand the whole element. There was another tab with product details, beautiful bullet points, and the customers actually focused on that. So our customer tried to present the content in a better way, and they changed the layout of the page. They optimized the product detail part. And the technical data, the tech specs, the spreadsheet info, so to speak, was integrated into the text, because we can also generate small tables or bullet points, and that actually makes people feel like someone put work and effort into the text, and that increased the engagement rate a lot. So we could increase it to an acceptable rate. Yeah, of course, Stefan, if you want to say something. I find this so interesting. So interesting to see that people are reading our texts. That's such valuable information for us. It's really interesting that people read our texts in our field of business. And also the comparison, because we haven't included this type of text for all the products. We don't use the metrics for all products. And it's interesting to see the development. So of course, I want to see where we could end up. Of course, the customer wants to use this service. That's great news. Stefan, what are your expectations? Of course, you're a pioneer. You're just trying this, but of course, you also have to know whether your business is performing well. What are your hopes and expectations? What change would you like to see? Because if we talk again in a year, I think we can have a look at this recording and find out if things have changed in the past 6 months or a year. So I would just like to know what your expectations are. And to our guests, I would like to ask you to note down your questions either in the chat or ask with your microphone. But first, we'll talk to Stefan and ask him about his hopes and expectations, because we don't have real metrics yet. No, we don't. You're right. And yes, it's only been a couple of days. And that's not really a lot of information yet on a statistical level. Of course, we hope to increase our conversion rate. We want to have more buyers, otherwise we wouldn't do all this. We do all of this to meet our customers, to serve them better, to reach them better with this personalized product, so we can stand out from our competitors. We are already standing out from our competitors because we have these text blocks, really, and now we make this more personalized. And then, as we have seen, this personalization leads to more conversion. I find this really interesting. And if we can really tap this potential to the most, I think this will just skyrocket. Of course, every retailer wants to achieve this. It sounds very logical what you're saying. This is why we have guests today. Yes, we want to have a higher conversion rate. We want to increase our turnover and the number of our customers. And of course, we want to be profitable. Yes, we want to make money, of course. You're right. We have a question to Robert. I'll just read it out. What's the difference between the dashboard and Google Analytics, Robert? Google Analytics allows us to measure everything, the whole web shop, the whole application. There's a lot of detail, user behavior, etc. is also included in there. And this tool actually is more like the Facebook ad manager. We look at one part of the whole chain. That's the text, and for the ad manager it would be the ads, and we look at these individual parts. I have built the customer journey for the product page and look at the text and the conversion rate. So this is what the system does for the copywriter who changes the texts. If Stefan wants to change text in the future, he will have a look and say, okay, has this made a difference? And he can also see, yes, I actually improved the text. I can see the impact, the effect of my own work. He doesn't just know, okay, we changed our text and our EBIT increased by the end of the year. Actually, the effect is more easily traceable. Robert, maybe we can also speak about metrics as a strategic instrument. Stephan Bayer owns an online store for tools. So of course he wants to sell. But looking at text editing and content teams, how will they change if they use these tools? Now we will see what happened in the ad world 15 years ago or 20 years ago. We had a certain budget for advertising space or advertising slots, and we were hoping to have an ad and then have a bigger turnover. But then cost per click was launched by Google, Instagram, etc. They said, okay, if you add €1.30 per hour, you will have this and that result. And this has really changed the job of marketeers. it turned it upside down. This also changed the budgets. The daily and fixed budgets were changed. And I think we'll see the same thing for copywriting. I'm starting to write to make turnover, not just to fill the obligatory field in the PIM. I think there's also development, a shift from the cost center to the development center, really. So there are no more questions at the moment. Heike, have I missed something? Are there open questions? No, but of course you can enter your question in the Q&A or in the chat. Just to make that clear again, we had some technical issues in the beginning. I apologize again. But if you have a question, please just ask. Stefan, I would like to know something. So if I saw it correctly and understood that correctly, you had 16 buyers on 240 views, I think. Is that better than before? Or is that actually normal? Unfortunately, there was a weekend in between, because on weekends, of course, we don't have as much traffic, but probably because you're B2B, right? Yeah, I don't know. It's difficult for me to blame it on B2B because we're also B2C. It doesn't really matter. I think it has improved, if I understood it correctly, that these items have just been added to the shopping cart. They have not been bought yet. So we'll just have to wait and see. It's in the shopping part and it hasn't been ordered yet. I haven't seen 16 orders, I think. I would need to check again. But from based on my feeling, on my gut feeling, I'd say it has improved, but we have to wait and see, maybe 2, 3, 5 weeks. Then we'll know more. And it will be really interesting to have a look once the rollout is complete. We will have a better overview, because at the moment there are still some big topics that are missing. But looking at it now, and if I understand the metrics correctly, because this is also new for me, I would say that we can deduct a lot, we can conclude a lot. I can try and depict my texts in a certain way. I know if my text looks better or worse based on this. Okay, 3 to 4 weeks, that's a promise. So we'll speak again and we will learn more. So everyone who has been here today, if you are interested, you will learn about our news. Heike, would you start our feedback survey, please? And one important note, please subscribe to our calendar. If you do not want to miss our meetups, please subscribe. Thank you, Stefan, for this insight today, for being so open and honest and speak about your experience. I loved it, just like last time. Thank you so much. Okay, first one's clicking. Thank you for your feedback. We always want to improve even more. It was really sensational for me today because of course I have to say this because I'm the founder, but I have to like our product. But I really like our product. I love what our techies have done. Robert, also thank you to you and the tech team. You have done a great job. Heike, thank you for hosting the meeting. There has been a lot going on, technical issues in the beginning, but I think everything has worked fine in the end. I think the feedback is great, so thank you very much. The next meetup will look at data and data preparation. If you know AX semantics and work with it, you often have to look at product data and how they can be prepared. So if you're interested in that, please join us next week. We will speak more about that next week. And if I may add, that's one part of our discussion. And we will talk about the Yemoli fashion product. It's a fashion online store. And so it will be really hands-on once again, so we can show you a case example, speak about what they wanted to achieve and what their experiences have been. It's great. We move from tools, from engineering to fashion. That shows how important engineering is in Germany. And please don't miss our date on Thursday. I always want to say it's a copywriting workshop. It's actually a writing workshop. So if you want to join us in this workshop, feel free. And as always, please stay healthy. I'm looking forward to seeing you again. Thank you to the translators from Simultando. Thank you, Heike. Thank you, Stefan. We'll see each other soon again. Bye.